Hello everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hana Zahra. I'm from class G, and in this video, I will explain about audience studies and encoding decoding analysis. In the beginning, audience research has two distinct approach characteristic by their aspiration and their underlying ideologies. First is early studies. The mass media possess significant influence and the capacity to modify audience behavior. Uh, And the second is Frankfurt School. The ruling elite employed mass media to shape and suppress the lower classes, compelling them to conform to the government's desires and the extreme right-wing nationalist ideology of the 90s. And the third is Morley ideology. He states the early studies on audience and mass and media effect emerged as a reaction against the pessimistic views expressed by F.S. scholars as advocated by American researchers. Um, Based on German society experience, family and community ties, which met with a tendency of fascist ideology, an individual increasingly susceptible to external influence, and particularly the mass media. Influence the propaganda disseminated by the ruling faction within society, and the mass media function as a hypodermic needle. For the criticism, first is assumption of a homogeneous and passive audience, and the second is assuming media message possess the ability to induce behavioral change. And then FS researchers present media effects as excessively direct, overlooking the pluralistic nature of American society, which differ from German society. I will explain about the effects tradition. The dominant tradition in audience research that emerged in United States after World War II is assumption media message have a direct and powerful impact on audience behavior and attitude. So there are two orientation approach. The first is the media, the message effect orientation, characterized by the behaviors and empirical perspective, employ laboratory research examine changes in audience behavior when exposed to or influenced by media message. And the second is the audience-oriented approach. Um, this is a structural functional approach and focus on the social characteristic of diverse audience, such as class background, educational levels, and other social factors. This social characteristic influence how audience receive or reject a media message. And this slide I will explain about two orientation approach. There are audience studies as a critical perspective, and the second is perception analysis, or we can say is encoding and decoding analysis. Okay, first is audience studies, or we can say is critical perspective. Is critical perspective on audience studies begin by advancing several criticism of the earlier studies and perspective. First is have a lens of empirical data in understanding and interpreting the meanings of media message and image. And the second is the fundamental philosophy and concept of this perspective, but still remain functionalist and behavior. So the second is about perception analysis. Begin by examining communication in a holistic context, viewing entire communication process as inseparable from society, and then all a communication phenomena should be explained by examining the patterns of our relation within society. And then audience studies should examine how the process of meaning making of media message by the audience is shaped through social and cultural structures. So, a critical approach that evaluates the process of meaning making and examines its relationship with socioeconomic factors of society. And then I will explain about reception analysis or encoding and decoding of media message. First is Hall said encoding and decoding in the television discourse proposed reception analysis. So based on semiotic arguments, Hall argues that media message should not be seen as a package delivered by producer to the audience. How messages are encoded by message producers such as producer, directors, and editors, and then received or decoded by the audience. The same and received message are different. So individual audience engage in process of decoding or interpreting media message are differently. Um, this is for the example of the nationwide audience. So the reception analysis model proposed by Hull provides a theoretical framework for the study of the nationwide audience by David Morley. And then examines how the different audience give different reception to a current affairs program on British television titled Nationwide. Um, so audience capable to understanding and interpreting media message, but still within a socially structured context. The study also assumes the society and individuals within society are not homogeneous but heterogeneous. So this is society is divided based on first is class and social background, and the second is gender, and the third is ethnicity. All the social factors cause the audience to interpret media message based on their social background. Um, so in slide is about the explanation, the nationwide audience and the conclusion. The nationwide audience television message are seen as complex symbols. The meaning of each message has been predetermined, yet it still has the potential to be interpreted with different meanings we can derive from a message are structured in as imbalanced pattern based on dominant relationships. So for the conclusion, R is overall audience research has moved away from the simplistic notion of direct media effect on passive audience. It recognized the agency and diversity of audience, their active engagement with media, and the complex social, cultural, and technological factors that shape their media consumption patterns and interpretation. So that's all the presentation about audience studies and encoding decoding analysis. Thank you for attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.